This is the news on Zodiak. My name is Robert Kalua. Coming up at this hour. TUM and government in a deadlock cover over demand for COVID-19 risk allowances. President Chakwera appeals for unity and vigor in fulfilling development vision as a reward to the country's martyrs. MCP shifts primary elections in Karonga Northwest to Friday due to logistical challenges. In sports news, Malawi sends 4 athletes to Zambia to participate in the all-comers tournament. Now the news in detail. A 2-day discussion between officials from Ministry of Education and Teachers Union of Malawi has ended in a deadlock after the two sides failed to reach a consensus on COVID-19 risk allowance demands. As we speak, TUM is expected to meet all district heads to map the way forward on the next plan of action. Education expert Benedicto Kondowe has since pleaded with the two parties to resolve the impasse, saying learners' rights have suffered long. Chimwemwe Padata reports.
The COVID-19 risk allowance demand has taken a new twist. On one hand, TUM has now called for an impromptu meeting within its leadership on Thursday, while on the other, education commentators are threatening to intervene by taking unspecified action. TUM has failed to reach a consensus with Minister of Education officials at a meeting that lasted for 2 days. The union's president, William Alimba, has told us they will come out with their next course of action after their meeting slated for Thursday.
The discussions we are having now is at our office, national executive members. We are having our meeting. But for the government, we are called off the discussions. They said, whatever you can do, but the teachers cannot receive risk allowance. Then we said, I thought that when we came here, we are going to discuss this issue of risk allowance. And you ask us, what are your problems? Why are you saying that the teachers should receive risk allowance? We explain our side and you explain our side.
An education commentator, Benedicto Kondowe, has called on the two parties to move with speed and resolve the impasse.
For us, we don't believe that this is a matter that the two parties can fail to resolve. So if they continue to waste much of our time, because already our education has been affected, private schools are offering education, whilst public schools are not. So we have a number of options.
This was the second time TUM was meeting Minister of Education officials on the demand. Last week, they had met President Lazarus Chakwera in an attempt to resolve the disagreement.
Meanwhile, Minister of Information Gospel Kazako says government is looking into long-term solutions to challenges teachers are facing in the country other than COVID-19 risk allowance, which they are demanding. He gives details in this interview.
The negotiations are still going on, and we are hoping that at the end of it all, there will be a good thing coming out of the negotiations. As government, our approach has been one that is looking at a very robust solution, not a solution that would hoodwink teachers today by merely accepting certain things that are easier to do and then leaving a long-term solution. We're looking at reconstructing, we are looking at reviewing the entire strata and equation of the plight of the teacher. You know, for a very long time, teachers have been complaining, teachers have been crying, teachers have not been taken care of. And governments do come and go, teachers are still suffering. The teacher is suffering, and as government, we are aware of that. We are with them, we are actually standing on their side. What we want to do is to come up with a solution that is going to look into all the issues that do affect them. You're looking at the issues to do with the promotions, issues to do with the decent salaries, working conditions, things to do with their upgrading professionally. All these things and others have to be looked into and make sure that we come up with a solution that is going to last.
Still on COVID-19 issues, United Nations Children Fund UNICEF has urged governments globally, Malawi inclusive, to prioritize implementation of COVID-19 strategies that will help keep schools open, with statistics showing that over 168 million children have been affected globally. UNICEF Malawi education analyst Milandu Mwale says more efforts must be put in place to ensure that schools remain open, and as the world entered into a second year of the pandemic, which has left children with limited or no classes. In Malawi, schools remained closed for 7 months in 2020 and 5 weeks in 2021, affecting classes for 7.7 million children. Toera Kumwenda has more.
In 2020, schools in Malawi closed for a period of 7 months and more than 3 weeks in 2021 due to COVID-19. Even now, the future of learners in government schools remain in limbo with the continued boycotting of work by teachers who are demanding risk allowance from government. A statement from UNICEF released Wednesday, 168 million children have been affected with the closure of schools globally, and of these, 7.7 million are from Malawi. UNICEF education analyst Milandu Mwale told Zodiak that governments should put in place more efforts in rebooting the education system.
The reason why we've released that statement is to call attention to the education emergency and raise the awareness about the need to keep schools open and to prioritize reopening plans. We all are aware of the impact of school closure that Malawi experienced in the first wave. Even in the second wave, it is very critical to have the schools opened, and because the school provides a safe environment.
Education expert Sisex Benedicto Kondowe admits that the number of children whose education has been affected by COVID-19 pandemic is too high and that the current stay away is worsening the situation. Kondowe said if there will be no consensus by government and TUM, more children will continue to be affected, and the huge numbers of these children are in rural areas and attend government schools.
What CSEC is currently pushing is some sort of a compromise that allows, government and the Teachers Union of Malawi to look at the bigger picture. In the current situation, it is actually the children who are suffering.
UNICEF's statement further states that the world cannot afford to move into year 2 of limited or even no in-school learning for these children, as school closures have devastating consequences for children's learning and well-being. For Zodiak in Zuzu, I'm Toera Mwenda.
Wednesday morning, President Lazarus Chakwera and his VP Saulos Chilima witnessed a ceremonial guard mounting at Kamuzu Palace in commemoration of the Martyrs' Day. In a brief address, Chakwera called on Malawians to deepen their passion in national building in honor of the country's martyrs who fought for a better Malawi. Western Good filed a report.
Speaking at Kamuzu Palace in Lilongwe, President Lazarus Chakwera said that the 3rd March of 1959 is a day to remember and honor the struggle that claimed lives of many Malawians that resisted the oppressive colonial rule. He said that the historic struggles that started way back in 1891 through generations to 1959 cleared the path for the creation of the new and independent Malawi. Going down the memory lane, President Chakwera mentioned the 11 people that died and 72 that were injured in Cholo, the Kanyama, Chipembere and Chisizas that ignited the uprising in 1957, the coming in of the first President Hastings Kamuzubanda as examples of the freedom fighters. He also mentioned the 1959 protests of not less than 1,000 people on 3rd March, where 59 people were killed in Nkata Bay. Chakwera then said that to honor the freedom fighters, Malawians should emulate their selfless lives to build a new Malawi that will benefit future generations.
We must remember that that uprising was many years in the making. It was but the harvest of seeds of liberation that had started germinating in the years immediately after 1891, when British established the British Central Africa Protectorate, which was renamed Nyasaland in 1907.
The event was also attended by Vice President Saulos Chilima, among other senior government officials. Reporting for Zodiak in Lilongwe, this is Western Guta.
The Malawi Congress Party has for the second time shifted its primary elections in Karonga Northwest from Wednesday to Friday this week due to logistical hiccups. MCP District Chairperson for Karonga, Mr. James Nkhani, has told Zodiak that the shifting of dates is aimed at giving enough time to the aspirants to interact with delegates before the voting day. While welcoming the postponement, one of the aspirants, Daniel Manyongo Chitonga, says the change of the dates will likely affect their preparations ahead of the March 30 parliamentary by-elections. Adam Zundaninge has filed this report.
The Malawi Congress Party has once again postponed its much-awaited primary elections, which were supposed to take place today, Wednesday, to Friday this week. MCP District Chairperson for Kalonga, James Nkhani, has told us that the shifting of dates is aimed at providing enough time to the aspiring candidates to interact with delegates for voting day. While welcoming the postponement, one of the aspirants, Daniel Manyongo Chitonga, said the change of dates will likely affect their preparations, and this will force them to incur huge costs.
We do not have much power to dictate what the party authorities can say. All I can say that we have received the news and we are working towards Friday, and we are actually getting ready as usual, although the longer we take, we'll be disadvantaged.
A total of 474 delegates are expected to vote during the primary elections from 158 area committees, following the reduction of number of delegates from 9 to 3 per area as part of COVID-19 restrictions. The March 30 by-elections will take place in 7 constituencies and 2 wards across the country. Reporting for ZBS News, this is Adams Clement Undaning.
You're watching the news here on Zodiac. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back this evening. You're with me, Robert Karua. Let's have a look at the headlines as we continue. Two-man government in a deadlock over demand for COVID-19 risk allowances. President Chakwera appeals for unity and vigor in fulfilling development's vision as a reward to the country's martyrs. MCP shifts primary election in Karonga Northwest to Friday due to logistical challenges. In sports news, Malawi sends 4 athletes to Zambia to participate in the all-comers tournament. Moving on with the news, the High Court in Lilongwe has set 9th March as it will make its determination on compensation for women from Nsundwe, Bwatalika and Mpingu areas who were raped by some police officers. Judiciary spokesperson Gladys Gondwe has confirmed the development to Zodiac, and the Women Lawyers Association has meanwhile expressed concern over delays to conclude the case as the women await their compensation. Chimamwe Badata reports.
After a year-long dragging of a court case of sexual assault involving Nsundwe, Bwadaliga and Mpingu women in Lilongwe, there seemed to be light at the end of the tunnel. This follows setting of dates by the courts when the women will know how much they will receive in compensation. Judiciary spokesperson Gladys Gondwe told us determination on the matter will be made at the Lilongwe District Registry on March 9 this year. Meanwhile, Women Lawyers Association spokesperson Atupere Masanjara has applauded the decision.
It's disappointing, it's dismaying the amount of time that it's taken from the date that the judgment was given by the court last year to now, and the fact that we still have not gotten a ruling on the assessment of damages. It is quite disappointing. It's just an example of the hurdles that a lot of people face when it comes to accessing justice within our justice system in Malawi. But the court asked us to file a notice of hearing. So our expectation is that we should be getting a date at some point. We expect to be hearing from the court soon with a date.
Ministry of Homeland Security has urged the Malawi Police Service not to appeal the ruling on the case as it awaits the courts to analyze the compensation figures.
Let's now move to sports. Four athletes have left the country today for Zambia, where they will participate in the all-comers tournament slated for this Saturday in Lusaka. The tournament, organized by the Zambian Athletes Federation, will attract athletes from a number of countries who have been invited as part of the preparations for the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games in Japan this July. Malawi Olympic Committee, which has facilitated the trip, says the Zambian race is amongst a number of competitions which local athletes will take part in the next few months in readiness for Japan. Sambanda has the details.
The 4 athletes are Sten Lifa and Gift Kawale, who will compete in the short distance sprints of 100 and 200 meters respectively, as well as Asimenye Simwaka, who will run in the 400 meters, and Mese Malembo, who will compete in the 1,500 meters distance. The competition, organized by the Zambian Athletics Federation, has also attracted runners from other nations in readiness for the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games in Japan this July. Malawi Olympic Committee General Secretary Captain John Kaputa, retired, says apart from the all-comers tournament in Zambia, the local athletes will be involved in other races in the next 4 months, notably the Senior African Championship in Algeria on 24th of June, as well as the Under-20 World Championship in Kenya at the start of July.
This competition took place last year and Malawi was invited, but due to resources, Malawi team did not travel to Zambia. Our vision is to have a chance for our athletes to qualify for the Olympic Games. We are very fortunate to have this golden opportunity. They will compete among fellow African top athletes who would be very happy, or all of them qualifying for the Olympic Games.
Athletics Association of Malawi authorities have also confirmed the trip for the 4 athletes and appreciated Malawi Olympic Committee's effort. Malawi Olympic Committee's Technical Director James Mangani and Bishop Mackenzie High School's athletics trainer Pachisi Nyasulu are the officials leading the athletes on the trip.
Elsewhere, Nigeria has announced a ban on mining and a no-fly zone in the northwestern state of Zamfara as part of their efforts to actually clamp down on notorious criminal gangs often involved in kidnapping. Mining activities are believed to offer cover to these groups, which often invade communities and abduct villagers, many of them for a ransom. Last week, 279 girls were kidnapped from their boarding school before being released on Tuesday. It is suspected that powerful figures engaged in illegal artisanal mining are aiming at the gangs. Well, that's what we had time for in this edition of news, but before we go, another look at the headlines. 2-man government in a deadlock over demand for COVID-19 risk allowance. President Chakwera appeals for unity and vigor in fulfilling development vision as a reward to the country's martyrs. MCP shifts primary election in Karonga Northwest to Friday due to logistical challenges. In sports, Malawi sends 4 athletes to Zambia to participate in the all-comers tournament. Visit our website, zodiacmalawi.com, for more news. Remember, we're not out of the woods yet on COVID-19, so follow preventive measures without fail. My name is Robert Karua. Thanks for watching.